Good morning. My name is Kevin Parrish. As we gather here today to mourn the loss of Nick DiRico, it's also very appropriate at this time to celebrate his life and to share with each other a few personal stories and recollections of this man's very colorful life. I first met Nick DiRico back in 1988 at the NBC EJ Garage, which was, back in those days, located in Midtown Manhattan on West 53rd Street. From that very first moment, you immediately took note of his very deep voice and its powerful, commanding presence. The voice and its owner, who on most days you would find customarily dressed, wearing jeans, a t-shirt, and a faded blue jean jacket. Also traditionally present was his trademark signature blue knit cap, which traveled with him on every assignment. Now this guy named Nick DiRico could have very easily been sent over straight from Central Casting, the docks of Red Hook, Brooklyn, or perhaps even from somewhere along Arthur Avenue up in the Bronx. But to each of us at NBC, he was known as Nick DiRico, Nicky, or Nicky No Cheese DiRico. How could you be Italian and not like cheese? Most of us who work in the television news business know a little bit about a lot of stuff. Nick DiRico was no different. His very well-rounded set of diverse skills always suited him best whenever he was faced with a breaking news or complex production field assignment. It was during those events that Nick's vast knowledge and his many years of experience working within the industry always gave him the keen ability to respond and overcome any obstacle, to provide help and guidance to others, and just simply get the job done. Nick worked primarily as a sound man at NBC for many years. He was a true master of his craft in every respect. There's an old saying at NBC that was coined years ago by another well-known master audio engineer. His words of wisdom: always make it sound the way it looks. Nick was always on point, and his work was so much more than just a job to him. It was a part of who he was. It was his daily passion. As you can easily imagine, the constantly changing, dynamic nature of Nick's daily crew assignments range from the uneventful to the unbelievable, from tragic news events such as the crash of TWA Flight 800, the terrorist attacks of September 11th, from blackouts to blizzards, political conventions, elections, and presidential inaugurations, along with so many other events that he covered over the years. During one of Nick's assignments with MSNBC's Chris Matthews on a remote broadcast in Villanova, Pennsylvania, Nick had the responsibility of placing a wireless microphone on one of the guests that would be appearing on the broadcast. Now remember, Nick was always a true professional in every respect. He placed the microphone in what Nick determined was the most appropriate position and then asked the guest to give a test count. The guest dutifully complies with Nick's instructions, and he begins to speak. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In just a few short minutes, the live television broadcast was set to begin. As the final moments to air ticked away, the guest was a bit fidgety and did something that he shouldn't have done with that microphone. No problem. Nick sees what's going on, and then he hurries back up onto the stage to reposition the guest's microphone. A few more words of final instruction are given to the guest by the NBC soundman. That's the one with the deep, gravelly sounding voice, just in case you forgot. At this point, the guest seemed a bit angry, but Nick lowered his voice to a bit more of a comforting level and says, quietly, "Sir, it's my responsibility to make sure that everyone can hear you clearly, and when you keep moving your microphone around, that's not good. The people need to hear you clearly. Be careful. Please, don't touch the microphone." Well, the poor guest sure got the message that time after Nick's very gentle touch. The broadcast goes off without a hitch, and all is well. Now the time comes for Nick to remove the guest's microphone. He goes up to the man and says, "Sir, I'll remove your mic now." The guest says thank you and tells Nick he appreciated his concern and that all went very well. The final exchange was the guest asking Nick for his name. Nick replies. The guest reaches out and shakes Nick's hand and says thanks one final time, and then he leaves the stage and disappears. Another mission accomplished for NBC soundman Nick DiRico. In just a few short months after this broadcast took place, the guest that Nick had so dutifully attended to in Pennsylvania, spoke once again to a very large audience who assembled on a blustery cold morning. The date, January 20th, 2009. That guest was sworn in as the 44th President of the United States of America. As much as Nick DiRico took pride in all his NBC work, Job 1 was always back home in Windsor Terrace, Brooklyn, where his most important job of all was to provide for his wife June and his sons Nicholas and Michael. Quite often, the crews at NBC News spend more time with their coworkers than they do with their own families. It's something that comes with the territory and always has. For this reason of occupational circumstance, you get to know your coworkers very, very well. On most mornings, Nick departed Windsor Terrace, Brooklyn, at 0:30 in order to avoid his thousands and thousands of area commuters who, for some unknown reasons, always decided to take the Brooklyn-Queens Expressway at the exact same time that Nick DiRico needed to get to work over in Long Island City. Well, being a resourceful man and wanting to avoid what Italians called gamoria, misery, Nick leaves his house on most occasions 2 to 4 hours before his shift even starts at NBC. You really get to know your coworkers very, very well over the years. Nick DiRico was a tough guy when he needed to be, and would on occasion have, let's say, some very strong opinions with a never-ending menu of wide-ranging topics. Management likes to call this water cooler talk, and there's usually plenty of it flowing around in our crew lounge on most mornings. During typical morning gatherings in the crew lounge in Long Island City, the crews gather up their equipment that's needed for the daily field assignment. We talk, we drink coffee, utilize the facilities, and just take care of the morning business before everyone starts rolling. The television set is usually on, or at least there's some sort of music playing in the room. Early one morning, I happened to be playing a YouTube music video featuring a Southern gospel song titled, I Wanna Know. It's by a very popular 1950s gospel quartet known as Hovey Lister and the Statesmen. This singing group features one of the most famous bass singers of the era, Jim Wetherington, who was known by the handle The Big Chief. Did any of you know that Nick DiRico could sing? Yes, that Nick DiRico, with his very deep bass voice, could actually carry a tune quite well. One of the lines from the song, I Wanna Know, ends with the words, That's enough for me to know. Nick DiRico had a signature slogan that we heard many times over the years at NBC. It consisted of just 2 mighty words, That's enough. For the past couple of years, Nick DiRico was faced with a very serious battle fighting cancer. He fought this disease on so many fronts and did so with great personal effort and commitment, which was always strengthened by his faith in God, the enduring love, support, and lifelong partnership of his wife June, from the outpouring of love and support given by his sons Nicholas, Michael, his entire family, along with so many friends and colleagues. Nick's journey in this lifetime has now come to an end. As we all gather here to say our personal goodbyes to him, each one of us will remember this very unique person in our own special way. To my dear friend Nick DiRico, I know that you'll always be watching over me. So until the next occasion when we meet once again, I'll have to drink a few dirty longshoreman cocktails without you. Your colorful spirit, love, and friendship lives on and will be with me always. Rest in peace, my friend. Oh yeah, one last thing. That's enough.